Hi, this is Carlos. Look for my book, Lessons from Mars, at Amazon or wherever you buy books, or visit my website, lessonsfrommars.net. Hi, it's Carlos Valdez-Stepano. Welcome back to my series of podcasts based on my book, Lessons from Mars. I want to talk today about the third of the three imperatives, the three imperatives being clarity, intentionality, and discipline. We've talked about clarity, establishing the powerful why and the clear what in terms of collaboration. We talked about intentionality. What are the agreements we're going to make about how we're going to work together and being planful about it? By the way, I hate the word planful, but it works really well here. Discipline is about how we keep the factory running, if you will, how we keep our team going in a consistent, predictable manner. So when I arrived at Mars back in 2000, one of the most common requests I got from people who wanted me to work with their teams was to help them with what Mars people call ways of working. So Mars associates use that term ways of working to refer to the agreements they have about team meetings, for example, and team communications and connectivity, how we're going to be engaging with each other. Team processes is what I would call it generically. So people would bring me in and say, if we can just fix our ways of working, we can really get this team cracking. And they'd say, Carlos, you're a team guy. You must know some handy-dandy tricks we can use to make our meetings better. Give us a better way of working. And of course, look, there are myriad books on the subject of running better meetings. We all know meetings can be terrible. In fact, there's a book out there called Meetings Suck. I get that. I think we all do. Here's the problem with it. When it comes to meetings, and we'll use that as a primary example of ways of working, but it's not the only way, of a discipline. We'll use meetings because we all get it. One team's agenda won't work for another team because they're doing different work for different reasons and in different ways. So I'd go in with my list of agendas from my handy-dandy team reference guide that I got from somewhere, and they'd try things and they wouldn't work. They couldn't establish a discipline because the discipline didn't feel appropriate. As a consequence, people get really turned off by this kind of team discipline. It simply wasn't serving them. Now we introduce the imperatives, things start to change. How? If you're really clear as a team about why your collaboration matters and what specific work requires collaboration and therefore should be in your meeting agendas, and which work doesn't require collaboration, so it doesn't need to be in your agendas. And if you've agreed how you're going to approach this work together by cultivating some collaboration, by being intentional, then you can create a plan for your meetings that is completely 100% aligned with what you have decided is important and who needs to be a part of it. Suddenly, this idea of discipline becomes easy because the discipline lines up with what you've said you want to work on. I mentioned in a previous podcast, I was a yoga instructor, still am. And there's a great sign on the wall of my home yoga studio in Montclair, New Jersey. And it says this: discipline is remembering what you want. Discipline is remembering what you want. These three imperatives help teams establish clarity about what they want. Help them be intentional about how they're going to get to what they want, and then allow them to design processes that serve that intentionality. So discipline, you keep it simple, right? We don't have to over-engineer our meetings. Just make sure they're aligned with what you're clear about, right? What you need to do, right? Maybe it's not meetings, maybe it's decision-making. Great news. If you've decided what work requires collaboration and what doesn't, you've gone at least part of the way to deciding what decisions need to be shared by a lot of people and which ones don't. That's going to lighten your collaborative burden, yeah? You have to be able to give up decision-making to individuals, which sometimes is hard for folks. Trust me, consensus is the enemy. Agree to decide on those things that need everybody, the few things that really need everybody, and let everything else be done by smaller groups or individuals. And finally, what I call connectivity now. That way of communicating with each other, how you're going to stay in touch. Technology has made this really complex. Choose the technology, choose the approaches that are suited to your team's what, your why, your how. Align your disciplines, to what your team has said is important, and you will be fine. So the 3 imperatives: clarity, which enables greater intentionality, which can be supported by aligned disciplines. Just keep those things in mind. Now, I have to say, I thought when I got to this place in my research and development that would be enough. Well, it turns out it wasn't. We'll talk more about what comes next in subsequent episodes. Thanks again for your time, and I look forward to connecting with you in the next podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please rate the show on iTunes or contact me with your feedback through my website, lessonsfrommars.net. You can find my book, Lessons from Mars, at Amazon or wherever you prefer to buy books, or, again, through my website, lessonsfrommars.net.